All right, here we go. Back again. It's Easter Sunday, you guys. Happy Easter. Hope everybody's having a great Easter day. It's a little late in the day for me. Oh, stupid lint is all over the place in here. Typical man cave. And I had to go to the laundromat today to get all the household laundry caught up on before Sarah gets back tomorrow without any water here to try to keep the place as normal as I can. Anyway, no sleep for 3 days now. These damn stupid dogs are driving me bonkers. Anyways, I'll try not to BS. Quick note. When you move, you lose things. You don't lose things, you misplace them. They're out of sight and out of mind for a bit. And I came across again a terrific, super awesome human being. We'll call her Molly. Sent me a few packages in the past, years ago, and she was very close friends with the late, great Bobby Short. And, as a quick reminder, in case you didn't know, the late, great Bobby Short was another innocent woman who shared honest research with all of you and the previous, a good handful of the so-called big names in the Bigfoot Sasquatch community went out of their way to attack her and make her life absolute hell intentionally. Defenseless woman. There's a pattern there, isn't there? Should almost be embarrassing and ashamed to have your name included in the so-called big names of the previous big names of the Bigfoot community, right? What an embarrassing, disgusting group of absolute coward males. They're not men, they're just somewhat male-ish. Poor examples of human beings. So anyways, the late, great Bobby Shorts, what I have in my possession, I remember I shared a handful this was all mailed to me and encouraged me to share it with you when I could. And I should get into that more often, but all these papers are all on shootings. The Alaska shooting. The Wyoming shooting. These are all direct interviews Bobby had with numerous people around North America and more, I believe. The Arkansas shooting, the Montana shooting. The Plumas County, California. The Dalton Bigfoot stories. Oh, that's a big chapter there. Hunter's compulsion not to shoot. Shot, killed, and buried. There's a pile of stuff in here that if you're not familiar with, I'll try to make sure you are familiar with it eventually, right? And then, not only that, we have this other book. I think this is her unpublished book that Molly was editing up for her. Look at this sucker. How much time and energy was it put into this? And research? A lot. So, somehow we'll have to get a lot of this shared as we go as well. In honor of the late, great, honest, kind Bobby Short. Who was bullied, terrorized, and haunted, and attacked by a good handful of the so-called big names in the Bigfoot Sasquatch community. I'll have to keep that attached to her title nonstop so that everybody knows the truth. Nobody forgets, and hopefully you repeat it. So there you go. Look at it all. Look at this. I've seen that photo before. Look at that sucker. What did that? I can't say for sure as an 8 to 10 foot tall human-like being, but you definitely can't get any heavy equipment in to pull that off, could you? Look at that. Water right there, too. You couldn't get any equipment there anyways. It would sink. Anyway. National treasure, Bobby Short. Sasquatch and military installations. What's up with that, right? Military. Military is about in-your-face, blatant example of power and control at its highest form, right? Military. Why is it that these monkeys / gorillas are commonly experienced at military bases around the globe? Why is that? Is there a bunch of surplus monkey gorilla food there they like to eat? I doubt it. What's going on? Right? Why are these hairy, upright people so concerned with military activity? Wonder why. Anyways, moving along. Let's get right into it, okay? This is titled Alberta Bigfoot. Hi, Steve. Sorry if you saw this before, but I wasn't sure which email I was supposed to use, so I sent this to a couple of your email addresses. That's okay, everybody seems to. And I don't know why, I'm not being insulting, but I probably say, share my story at howtohunt.com 4 or 5 times every day. I don't know why so many people miss it. So, for all you who keep possibly missing it, I just said it again. That's where you send them, all right? But I got you. I got it, man. I got you. Anyways, I found your YouTube page a little while ago while researching Bigfoot stuff. I want to share my experiences around my cabin in northern Alberta. I'm 53 and have spent most of my life in the bush, hunting, trapping, camping, hiking, etc. I grew up in eastern Canada. I moved out west when I turned 19. Spent some time in the territories, and I've been living in northern Alberta for the last 25 years. Ever since I first heard of Sasquatch or Bigfoot as a kid, for some reason, I never passed it off as not real, and always knew in the back of my mind there was something to it. I'm reminded of a gentleman in my small community I grew up in who once claimed he saw a huge, hairy, upright, quote, animal, end quote, on a wooded, deserted island, which was about 12 miles offshore from our town on the northeast coast of Newfoundland. How did he get there? How did they get to New Zealand? How did they get to Hawaii? He wasn't just saying. There's many examples of these beings being where you wouldn't think they could be. He was a level-headed, well-respected gentleman, brave, strong, proud, salt-of-the-earth kind of guy, and a commercial fisherman. His experience unsettled him so that he slept in his boat in the harbor that night rather than in his cabin on the island. I moved to the territories in the late 1980s and later to Alberta. That's meaning the Northwest Territories. In 2016, I had just completed a rough hunting cabin in an area that only I had been in. I never saw any other tracks or human sign in the area. Its access was rough, and I had to cut, saw, and build a trail up to a ridge in this remote area, just south of Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray again. Fort McMurray, big oil town. Oil sands? Aren't they oil sands there? Anyway, that is also where that terrifying recording was sent to us when those guys getting firewood just south of town. And we've had a piss load of experiences coming from the Fort Mac area. Like most, I've always heard stories of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and I've never doubted its possibility or sincere stories told by people who have had strange, genuine experiences in the bush, though I never saw anything myself. But one day, I was heading up to the cabin area on quad. I was forced to stop and cut a detour around a mud hole that had been getting deeper every time I went through it. I'd been cutting small brush for about 5 minutes and had finished the detour. When I shut off the chainsaw, about 2 seconds later, there was a loud crash, like a huge tree had fallen, about 30 yards away. The brush was too thick to see anything, but something told me it wasn't natural, and the timing seemed strange. Seeing it was the instant I shut off the saw. Seeing it was the instant I shut off. Okay, sorry. I shook off the feeling, loaded up the quad, and continued up the ridge. A few months later, I had completed the hunting cabin and was doing some work outside when I noticed a log in the ground that I knew wasn't there before. It was a poplar about 8 to 10 inches in diameter and about 12 feet long. Near one end, there was a hole in the sandy ground. It was evident that the log had to be somehow thrown, stuck in the ground, and fell over. Then my only question was, who or what could have tossed this log? As I was still contemplating this, I looked to the south of my cabin where another poplar tree was laying horizontal and suspended on the branches about 3 feet off the ground. I'd felled that tree several months ago while cutting a bigger one that was by it for a log. while building the cabin. On the tree, there was a crude but distinct carving of what looked like a simple face with 2 eyes and a mouth. I knew it was not on the tree before. I saw that tree almost every day I went to the cabin. Excuse me. It was like someone took a huge finger and carved 2 eyes and a straight-lined mouth into the bark of the poplar. It gave me the creeps and also pissed me off a little as well. It seemed almost audacious. This was getting real. A couple weeks later, I was on the roof of the cabin doing something when I heard a strange vocalization about 50 to 75 yards away across the ridge. It reminded of the same oh shit, just lost my spot. Sorry. And then it flips the whole thing up. It sucks. Come on. It reminded of the same vocalizations some have recorded on the video and documentaries. Like a cross between an angry Japanese sumo wrestler and a raven, lol. It was short, just 2 or 3 seconds, only once, and I got the feeling that whatever made the sound was going away from me and maybe a little pissed. Sadly, that spring day was the last time I was at the cabin, because a few days later the famous Horse Creek wildfire passed through Fort McMurray. The whole area, including my new cabin, was decimated, including part of the town. I just thought I'd share this. I have a couple of interesting theories about what Sasquatch is based on my research. Maybe I'll share these with you in another email along with some of my research and study. Thanks for your time. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. Luke, Fort Mac, Alberta. Luke, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that time you just donated to the people through me. And that sucks. That's a shitty ending to a cabin, man. That would suck. I hope you still go back there and rebuild. I would. Just do it. Don't lose. Too bad you didn't have a picture of that face in the bark. That would have been something else to see, especially for myself and other people who are familiar with cutting trees. What it takes to make a mark in bark. I would like to see that photo. And that's not a common experience shared of having something carved into a tree bark. But who knows? Maybe somebody else will share the same thing. And your research, I am definitely curious to hear what you've learned. And I'm also very curious to hear if you've spoke with many other people around Fort Mac that shared openly with you what they saw or heard. Secondhand stories, I'm all over. Send it. And what else? And I'm not being a dick when I'm saying this at all. But if you do share what you've come to conclusions with your research, and it includes Genesis out of the Bible or the Bible, the Nephilim story, don't share it with me again, man, okay? I've had that shared here, I don't know how many times. It's almost like 50 times the past month. We've heard it. We get it. The whole audience has had the opportunity to take from it what they will or leave that. But we've got it. And sharing it with us again. I'm not saying this is what you're going to share with me. I'm just nipping it in the bud, because if we get another 15, 20 minute repetitive of that, it's going to really annoy a lot of people, and it's going to annoy me a little bit too. And I'm not saying it's not the answer. I'm just saying, all right, we got that one. We got it. And everybody has the opportunity to take from what they will or leave it or look further into it themselves at this stage of the game. Other than that, send it. Send it all in, man. Now, who's next? All right, here we go. Here's another one. This is titled Goat Man Encounter with Picture. Now, just so a lot of the listeners right now may be scoffing or shaking their head or going, oh my God, really? There has been so many people have emailed in about running into seeing beside their vehicle in the headlights or whatever, even speaking to a human being, and they look down and this being had goat legs and feet, hooves. What's up with that? Right? What's up with that one? It's a pattern. It's a very strong, popular pattern, making it impossible to ignore if your brain's firing by itself, on its own, independently. Hello, Steve. I took this picture. What? Hello, Steve. I took this picture in Cook's Forest in Western PA. I was hiking for about 2 hours and sat down to take a break. The trail loop I was on was too long to finish, so I decided I was done due to time and was going to return the path I walked. I drank the rest of my water and finished off my Slim Jims. After walking about 10 minutes, I couldn't remember the path I took. There were a couple intersections in the trail, several game paths that crossed the main trail. I found myself at the bottom of a valley on a trail that abruptly ended along an empty creek bed. I was past when I realized this and yelled out many obscenities. Then I heard a lion-like roar that slowly ended with the sound of a fire crackling. Loud, real loud. I was startled at first and realized I must be close to a camp. I continued down the steep valley when I saw what I thought were deer running up the hill, then back down the dried creek bed twice as fast, breaking lots of brush on the way. I could smell a campfire and headed towards the smell as it turned to the smell of burning hair. I saw this being looking directly into a campfire. I didn't know what to think. This man must be burning his face off doing that. He turned toward me and started walking, stumbling. His legs looked bent and unstable. I took this picture. Then it sprinted toward me as incredibly fast until it basically went through me. I woke up in the dark, in my car, found it hard to breathe. I looked in the mirror and saw my eyes were completely red. In a fog, I left. My eyes developed yellow around them in the following days, and here's the picture, one that turned out very clear. End of story. This is creepier than shit. I guess I better put that in the video, right? So, what do I do here? Go like that, hit that, go there. Save it to Dropbox, and then I open up the Dropbox and the laptop and I throw this down. Okay, so what do we got here? Dude's got some nasty ass skin. I don't know what to say about this. I have never ever even heard a description of something like this. This is quite the picture. But there's so many people, there's so many sleuths. If this picture, and this is just a BS email, if it is, I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know this man. I do believe, though, if I was to include a picture like this and make up a story, I could probably make up a better one. I'm thinking I could. So, has anybody seen something like this photograph for real? Anybody else? Has anybody seen this being in a movie or in a magazine? Or, in a way I hope not, has anybody seen something like this being for real? If so, what the F? Right? And if that being is real, whoever created that being didn't create it to be attractive and have picnics with and go on dates with. That's for sure, right? Whoever come up with that being, that's what typically represents some very dark shit to the average human being. What would I do if I ran into a being that looked like that and was looking at me? Obviously, holes in the head. Instant. Wouldn't even think twice. I wouldn't even try to speak to it. You're going down. Right? That's something else. That's the clearest photo we've ever received here ever of anything. This is apparently a being. So, let's get some feedback on that photograph, shall we? From the people, because there is a lot of people here. A lot. What do we got here? You mark this as red. This is titled, "Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?" Hello, Steve, and all who are listening. I have a very long story, and it has everything to do with Bigfoot and a lot more. I'll not send everything in this part because my story should be a lifetime movie. It's just too long. It involves everything from Bigfoot, close encounters of the fifth kind, orbs, UFOs, and almost becoming one of the Clinton body count. That's a big club too, isn't it? The Clinton body count? It's a real big club. They're a couple of prize demons they are. What I've had happened almost got me killed. I know more than the normal person, whatever normal is. However, my uncle, who lived in the Ozark Mountains, he had thousands of acres adjacent to the Buffalo National State Park. You could walk to the river. He's a legend. He's in the special edition at the Guinness Book of World Records for having the largest feet in the world, size 42. No shit. In one of these pictures, he's sitting next to his best friend that wore a size 12. People were finding prints around that area as people were accusing him of making them. He made it clear it was not his print and didn't have time to be doing nonsense. He was a very busy man. You see, my uncle was a very smart man. He wasn't in the Ringling, Barnum, and Bailey circus, but he followed them. He and his friend would get up groups of people, and his friend would make bets that my uncle had socks stuffed in the shoes, or is it all feet? His name is Buster Scott. He became very rich off those feet. It's how he ended up with so much land. He knew about the Sabe. He had seen them on his property. Everyone of my family has seen them except for me. I'm a city girl. However, it's where my parents would drag us on spring break to Uncle Buster's. Fun to stay in the middle of nowhere. Attached are pictures of him. Share them and share his name, and you can share mine. Randy Jones. I'll be reaching back out with other fascinating stories that has everything to do with our government. I'm pretty much in hiding, waiting for all this to be over with, and I believe that we're coming to the end. Thank you for all you do. Sincerely, Randy. That is really interesting, Randy. And what's even more interesting is that your uncle with the feet actually saw a Sasquatch to boot. There were some big frickin' digits. Your family. Everyone saw them. So you probably have a good handful more of stories, which I'd like to hear. And if you know something, whatever it is you feel you have to hide from, the reason, I'm curious to know what that reason is. So if you want to email it to me, try Proton email and send away. Send it to me. I want to know. I am one of the most savage truth seekers there is in existence right now. I'm all over it. So be safe. Take care of you first. Make every move well thought out beforehand. And if you can, email me back again. All right? Please share with me what you know. Here's another one. Oh, hold on. I better share. I better go back. This is what happens. I forget. Because it's almost kind of sucks in a way. It doesn't suck in a way, but I have to click on the photo, click again, hit the little bottom corner, save image, if it's more than one. Go to the next one, do the same, save image. Go to the next one, do the same, save image. And then that's it. And then I go into my photo album. I know it's painful, isn't it? I'm going to take you guys through it because this is what I have to do. Then I select them. And then I got to save them into Dropbox. And off they go. And then from there I got to crack open Dropbox on my laptop. And then download them. And then crack open the iMovie to throw your video in it. And then find them in my downloads. And then put them into the... It's an episode, right? Sometimes you got to do it, and sometimes I just go like that. You know, it's a little easy. You know what? Maybe I will do that with these ones because I just thoroughly, clearly showed you all that it's a big episode. So here's her uncle. Look at those feet in that sucker. And there he is with shoes on. There you go. Moving right along. Okay, next one, mark this one as red. Steve, an attempt to clarify the feeling of the dreaded dread is the title of this email. I put this in a comment after you mentioned again how you don't get and have never gotten the dread thing. And I hope you don't. Me too. I wonder if I'm immune to it. Maybe. You never know, right? I've done some pretty haywire, terrifying shit in life, and my gut has been... Yeah, I won't babble about that. Try not to be mad at me for failing to include my whole story. I seem only capable of detailing a portion at a time. All the efforts I've made to send my encounters get sabotaged by me over-editing, being too wordy or unsatisfied, or it gets disappeared from my drafts. Or when I hit send, but it's not in the sent folder. Hope this makes it to you for a start on a new path of better outcomes. As my failings are described, you can see it's not from lack of trying. Thank you for this platform and the connection it gives to those made to feel disconnected because of their experience. We are all connected. We should feel connected. And the disconnect does seem to be perpetrated against our nature. F all that. We're all one in connection to the universe, to each other and to love. But you need to trust that and make it your strongest defense against the many accostings against our natural state of existence. When I was a kid, camping with my family on an uninhabited Aleutian island, I explored away from camp for privacy to make a biodegradable deposit behind a giant boulder at the edge of the beach. I'd seen a black form on the beach, but I had a poor reference for distance and took it for a raven. Well, it was a large black bear, which became apparent as it had approached while I was concentrating on my mission. I made every effort to hurry my business as I was a wistful preteen in a meandering state of mind. The bear had made fast and short distance between us while I was paying no attention. I tried with all my might not to run, but was very concerned about him closing in. When I got to the bay where the mountain runoff meets the ocean, I was abruptly assured that getting across was now going to be a challenge, as the tide has risen the water to thigh deep. Fear ensued. I'll cut to the chase. I made it and dove into my parents' tent, babbling wildly beyond translation, but my dad knew enough to exit the tent with a rifle. We had a fresh-caught salmon on the grill, with its entrails still near the campsite. Bear bait, basically. It took a few hasty shots fired into the ground to stop the bear, and the next round would have been between the eyes. That fear was nothing in comparison to my encounter. That childhood incident included being pursued by a predator in an environment that was his, not mine. I was small, probably smelled like I was basted in its main food source, and was aware of all of it, but to some degree. The fact that I was familiar with the circumstances of my possible ill fate was comforting, and the adrenaline rush was brief and intense, but not like true fear, which I now know. Contrary to that experience, when I laid eyes on the face of a creature I didn't recognize, I was struck with curiosity. I saw only a small part of his face through my open window. It was quickly after it left my sight when the fear took hold as a debilitating, oxygen-sucking, nauseating, earth-shattering, limb-faltering, muscle-weakening, mind-numbing terror consumed me. The sound was unearthly and earthly at the same time, like it wanted to eat me, possess me, murder me, and threaten me. I feared the dread of the terror more than I fear the actual threat of a predator. More than seeing its face 10 feet or less from me, it made a sound that quaked the shell of imperviousness to the normal things that scare me. It made sure I felt the dread every night at 3:30 a.m. and the fetal position were inevitable. Oh, sorry. It made sure I felt the dread every night as 3:30 a.m. and the fetal position were inevitable. But by 4:30, I'd be released of the terror and was able to go to sleep. And this went on for weeks. There's no calculating how to escape it, like normal things. For whatever reason, I can only postulate, why didn't it expect me? How could I have surprised it? And why did it decide to eventually let me be? Maybe this will give you a perspective of the dread you keep hearing about. I don't wish it on you or anyone, Steve. But somehow I still want the thing to go about its life knowing I'm not here to create friction in its world. I haven't shared my encounter with the round table yet, Steve, sorry. I've tried for over the years, but my wordiness gets in the way, and my drafts end up deleted somehow before I get a chance to edit and finish. Maybe this will finally break the glass wall. Well, let's hope it does. I'm very curious. And maybe, possibly, I don't know if you can do this. I don't think we've had anybody do it. Well, no, we've had somebody do some stuff. Maybe try, record it on your phone, go to audio recording, and just blurt it out. Pretend you're right in front of me and we're just bullshitting. Don't worry about how you sound. And then just speak, share it, speaking. Put your phone down there and close your eyes and tell the story. And then send it to me. That might be an option, right? So, we're waiting. And appreciate your time and your share. Hopefully you get back to us. Now, who else? Oh, here's another one from a man I'm hoping to get in contact with. He's emailed us before. This is titled, The USFS Knows All About Sabe. Steve, you read my story twice. I had the bastards walk up to me fighting forest fires. 15 years later, hunting elk in the Grand Mesa in Colorado, I had the returned thing happen. I set off to elk hunt and spent most of the day sitting and spawning. I drank water several times. Walking back to the truck, I went for a drink of water and found it gone. The truck was close enough with a full cooler, so I went on. Walking up to the truck and starting to strip the rifle and backpack, I saw my Nagaline water bottle on my open tailgate. I already knew. It didn't scare me, but it still freaks you out. I had the mind speak all 3 times in my share with you. I didn't feel or sense anything. I just didn't think about it. The First Nations people tell us. So I can tell you that they do not operate at the level of physics that we publicly acknowledge. There's so much more. The lights are related. Dog mind speaks me all day. I have mind spoke does to run after an hour watching them with the wind in my face. All I'm saying is that you know more than any of us now. Your army of truth is behind you. Respectfully, Jason. Okay, man. I think you're going to email me again soon, weren't you? Do it. Email me again. That was a little confusing. But we got you. I do remember the coming up to you when you're fighting fire story. That was something else. Something else. Oh, here's a book. I'm going in. Going in, got to get the books read. You know how many times I have to pass them for later because I get to a book later on in my video. Bigfoot or Skinwalker, bracket, Dogman, end bracket is the title of this email. Hi, Steve. Thanks for your show. This information is incredible. I honestly do not intend on writing into you until hearing the story about the deep growl. I've heard numbers of stories about Sasquatch encounters, and even though it seemed it could be this creature, the deep growl I heard never fit. The main hang-up that I've always had is I did not see it with my eyes. Okay, and this is my experience. and still the most terrifying experience I've ever had. I was 20 years old and had started summer work for my uncle on a commercial construction business, which includes a lot of travel. We live in Oklahoma, and this happened about 14 miles outside of Oklahoma City on the edge of a small town. Excuse me. I was out of college for the summer and staying with my parents, who lived about 40 miles southeast of my uncle at the time. When we would get a weekend off, which is not very often, I would stay at my parents', and when we returned to work, I would drive to my uncle's house around midnight, park on his land, and sleep in my car, because he wanted me there at 5:30 a.m. sharp, or he would leave me. Never been a morning person, so it was easier for me to sleep in the car. My uncle owned 10 acres of land in a rectangular plot formation covered in trees and overgrown, backed up next to railroad tracks and about a half a mile from a river. To enter the property, you had to drive down a dirt road, and the driveway in, well, dirt road anyway, was in the middle of the property. My uncle and cousin lived on the property together. My uncle lived at the far north end, and my cousin lived at the far south end. When entering the property from the dirt road, you could go a ways, and then the road tees off, and you go left to my cousin's, right to my uncle's. Okay, so at the intersecting T, I would pull straight ahead into the middle of 4 large cedar trees that concealed my car from the T point of the road. This night, I was visiting some friends in a much larger town 10 miles from my uncle's town. After hanging out for the night, I decided to head for my uncle's around 12:30 a.m. I got there about 20 minutes later and pulled into my spot and started my normal routine, which was get out of my car, go to the trunk, and change out of my nice clothes into my work clothes so that when my uncle pulled up in the van in the morning and started honking, I'd be ready. Not this freaking night, though. I pulled in, got out of my car, got to my trunk, and as soon as I opened the trunk, I hear what I describe as an unearthly roar. It was very deep, rolling growl. At the same time, it was an unearthly roar. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe have a wolf growl into a set of concert speakers on full blast. Not even that could describe this sound. If you've ever heard a lion roar, this would be the closest description to the impact of the sound, but even a lion would turn tail and run if it heard this growl. Man, the descriptions are so intense, aren't they? The descriptions of these growls and screams are absolutely spine-chilling. One day we're going to get that recording, another one. So in my case, human nature kicked in. As soon as I heard the growl, I instantly turned my head to look, thinking there was something standing no more than 5 to 8 yards from me. But there's nothing there but the 15-foot plus tall cedar tree that is always there. But it felt like something huge is hiding partially behind it, and I should be seeing it. Now, from the point of me opening my trunk, all this went through my head in a matter of seconds, because I literally opened my trunk, heard the growl, turned my head, saw nothing, immediately turned my head back while slamming my trunk shut, while in motion to my car door at the same time. This is where it gets a little embarrassing, being a man. Seeing how we are supposed to be brave, not cry and not show fear. So within seconds, I'm in my front seat of my car, doors locked, immediately laid my seat all the way back while simultaneously flipping on a dome light on my rearview mirror, which didn't help me see out, but I'm sure whatever was outside could see me just fine. But at the time, the light gave me a tiny bit of comfort. Seriously, all this happened in a matter of seconds, and then the petrifying fear kicked in. I could not move. And I felt a large presence going around my car. I began to cry so much it started to blur my vision, but I could not move a single centimeter. It seemed like the only part of my body I could voluntarily move was my eyeballs. I felt like this creature circled my car 6 or 7 times. And whatever it was, I had the impression It was 7, 8 feet tall and seemed as if it were at least 5 or more yards away from my car as it was stalking me. I drove a soft-top convertible, and I honestly felt like this creature could rip open the top, pull me out, and rip me in half. So many things happened so fast. So after entering the car, laying the seat back, dome light, tears pouring down, the first thing I started to do, as it was encircling me, was trying to communicate with it. I had no idea why, but I had a strange sensation in my mind that it could read my thoughts. So I started thinking in my head, please go away. I don't mean you any harm. Please move on. Please go away. I keep thinking, I know you can hear me, but I can't hear or understand you. I remember thinking this 3 or 4 times in a row with no sense of safety from those thoughts. So I started praying over and over to God and Jesus not to let this thing kill me. And believe it or not, in those few seconds, I still did not find comfort from those thoughts and prayers, so I started praying for my grandmother to intervene. My grandmother passed away less than a year prior to this, and we were very close. She was 95% Native American, Chickasaw Nation, and had a different spiritual mindset compared to the people I've known. At this point, nothing has changed in my terror. So I started trying to communicate with whatever is out there again. And this time my thoughts helped me regain a little pride as a man, because I remember trying to project these thoughts to the creature right before it moved away. In a way, I felt as if I stood my ground. I keep thinking, I'm sorry, this is my spot. You're going to have to kill me or move on. I'm sorry, but I'm not moving. This is my spot. I come here all the time. I'm sorry. Please take your family and go. Yeah, I don't know where that last thought came from. I didn't hear anything else or sense as if anything else was there, but remember thinking that exact thought. Even after the incident, when a sense of calm came over me and I didn't think I was going to die, I still did not want to move. This might sound crazy, but right before I cried myself to sleep, while still in disbelief, the most beautiful apparition of my dead grandmother's neck and face in full color, like she was alive, appeared to me in my passenger side window. She was smiling and looking up toward the sky. I'll never forget it. It was like a portrait, but real. My uncle and cousin came down the road the next morning and honked the horn. I was physically drained from crying so much the night before that I didn't even want to mention it to them, but I needed to tell someone. I felt like. Anyway, my uncle asked me why I was not in my work clothes, and I told them what happened. I got the response I expected, which was, my uncle to my cousin, that son of a bitch was drunk, wasn't he? And they both laughed. I was not drunk or drinking. So for a good 20 years, I never mentioned it to anyone. Anyway, thanks for your channel. I'm still not sure what I encountered, but it's still comforting to know other people have had similar experiences, which means I'm not completely crazy. Then again, this is one experience out of about 7 in my life that I have no complete answer for. But with your channel, and I'm sure many people are a lot closer to knowing what they experienced. Thanks again, Steve. Keep up the great work. My name is Teddy McDade. I don't care if you use it. In my opinion, the world's going to shit, and it's up to the good-hearted people like you and me and the rest of you out there to fix it. Bye. Holy shit, Teddy. I'm glad you found us, man. You found your people. You're not crazy. You are not crazy at all. You just got that sandwich, that shit-eating sandwich thrown down on your plate without asking for it. Like every single one of us. But there's a reason behind it all, isn't there? Like sometimes I wonder, how the hell did I get in the position I'm in? Seriously. How did I get in the position I'm in? Why? How come I wasn't created to just be a regular window licker that didn't give a shit about anything and just fall in line and do what I'm told and then die? How come? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just gotta wonder, what is up? Why am I being taken on this ride? Why me? What's driving me to go the direction I'm going and do what I'm doing? I'm quite certain I'm not alone with that thought, right? Possibly everybody should have that thought, right? Except for the dedicated window lickers. It's unfortunate. It's an easy way to describe them, but it's unfortunate, bizarre to watch, and the more bizarre thing are those are the people that we're scared to share the truth with. It's just so much doesn't make sense, and it's so frustrating, right? You know, you see a group of people over there, and collectively they're about as smart as a group of pickles in a jar. Yet, we can be scared to share honest truth with a jar human pickles. Why is that? I don't get it. Well, there's a lot that I don't get, but a lot's starting to make sense. And the shitty deal is once it starts to make sense and you see the big picture and put it together, it's very unsettling and it's not cool at all. And you just want to fight back, but that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm fighting back. Can't stop myself. That's another frustrating thing is I can't stop myself. Why? I just hope that everything becomes very clear sooner than later for every single one of us, you know? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming, and I know it's coming because of the frustration, the unsettling frustration. That's the indicator that it's coming. It's happening every day. I don't think everything comes in a flick of a switch. I think it all gradually gets there, and that's what we've been doing. But we've been doing rapidly compared to, well, as soon as every one of you and myself, well, not myself, I was never sucked in, but as soon as the majority of the people busted free from the controllers of this topic, anyway. All right, I'm babbling. Sorry, I bite my lip. I haven't had sleep for about 3 days, but whatever. But it is funny, you know, I will share this. A friend of mine lives down the road, good friend of mine, fishing guide, outdoorsman, came over. His wife's away for a few days. He came over having a beer in the open shop door there and bullshitting about stuff. Talking about the world, what's going down. And then he goes, can you believe that there is an airborne, excuse me, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say anymore here. An airborne virus. Microscopic, right? Follow me. They still let you in the grocery stores, but they actually put stickers on the floor, stickers with arrows on them, on the floor in the grocery store to go in a certain direction. And there isn't an effing way, there is no way in hell I paid attention to those stickers on the floor of the grocery store. Isn't that amazing? It's just amazing when you look back at the extreme examples of absolute nonsense, no sense, and insanity that has been going on today in modern world. Holy shit, right? Just that alone. Oh, yeah, I'm done sharing emails, so if I really annoy you, you can go now. But there's your warning. So, but seriously, you guys, you got a microscopic airborne virus, and it's in our main food source, the one room that holds a whole entire community's main food source. Follow me. And I know the majority know what I'm about to say and how insane it is, but I mean, come on, seriously. Okay, well, we put stickers down on the floor, so make sure you go all in the same direction through the aisles with this airborne microscopic virus. Do you think that thing was following the stickers too? Oh my God. Now, we do realize that a lot of you that may be coming in the door to our main food source of the community may be infected, carrying it, and it's probably falling off you everywhere you go, including all of the produce section. Everybody's handling all the food. But that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. We're going to let you come into our main food source, infected or not, we don't know. We don't really care, actually. But make sure you all walk the same way in the aisles. All right? Make sure you walk the same direction in the aisles and stay 6 feet away from each other. Holy shit. Holy shit. Right? If that's not an in-your-face example of absolute insanity today in modern times. Nope, I'm never going to forget that, and I'm going to remind everybody every once in a while that went down, and the people that the people that comply, just that one example of insanity, are still walking the face of the earth today. Fuck. Holy fuck. And still today, in fact, my buddy last night, you know what he told me? Hasn't spoke to his mother in 3 years because of their differences in opinion in that time of life. Holy shit. Anyway, I better bite my lip, right? It's Easter. Happy Easter all. You know what? Maybe in honor of Bobby Short today, I think, special day Easter. Let's see if I can find, I can add in one more. Just thinking, all the people that didn't want to hear me rant, they left, and they're going to miss out on this. How long is some of these? All right, I'm just going to go random right in the middle of the book. You ready? This is titled The Alaska Shooting by the late, great Bobby Short, who was bullied, attacked, nonstop by the major big names in the so-called Bigfoot community. Don't forget that part, and I'm going to remind the world of that nonstop. In 2005, a collected report from a native-born man whose occupation was logging in the Klawock, Alaska region. I thought that the way it unfolded was quite interesting. A native Inupiat fellow, 15 years on the job and never had an accident either. He was never late and had an excellent work record, yet he suddenly quit his job one morning and never went back. After a year away from felling trees of the Klawock, he relaxed enough to tell somebody his story. Luckily, that somebody was me. His unusual story began as he arrived at work early one morning. Both he and another fellow logger, I believe his name was something like Tukkatok, Tukkuttok, began their daily routine. Suddenly they stopped cold, stood up, and listened. They heard whistling back and forth from one side of the logging access road to the other. This road ended at a dead end, which was the staging area for the tree cutting operation. His note read like this, spelling edited for readability. So that was Bobby Short's words to you, right there. Now, quote, "We heard whistles before many times. We stood focused near the Desna Alva, expecting to see the crew coming. But we saw first a giant come out of the trees. And like he stands there looking at the two of us. Like we stare back, and like here came another. Like the Ekchua. They're tall, about 9 feet tall. And I'm 5'3". They had hair on their body that was brown. Light-colored brown. All of them were light brown color, see? They whistled. Then 2 more of their kind in the trees come out onto the road. Seeing them scared us, and I lost my nerve from fright. And I shouted, 'Ambush!' We think ambush, like they're coming for us. Like why else? There's no way out but down that road. It was an ambush. They could have come at us from any direction, but they decided to block the road. We started running to the truck where we grabbed the rifle from the gun rack. He takes aim and fires off 2 rounds. One falls down. He hit it good in the chest, we think. But now here comes a 3rd and a 4th one. The one on the ground is screaming and rolling in the dirt. We think a female. The whistling stops. We stare. I'm shaking. They are so much bigger than us. I think I might have read this. We don't know what to do next. We don't know what they want, and the one we downed keeps on screaming and rolling around on the ground. I can't stand to hear it scream. It screams like a man tortured to death. We talked about trying to stop it with a headshot. The screams were terrible on my ears. It was a bad scene, real bad. The bearded one stopped whistling. They gathered around the one we shot that was on the ground. And now here come 2 more of them, both with gray beards, and these were even taller and wider. They were gesturing kind of wild-like, saying words not in our language. My partner sets up for a headshot, but then he changes his mind, aims to the air, and fires a warning shot. It echoes in the valley. Now the 2 biggest guys, they grab the hurt one under the arms and carry it, half dragging it into the timber. Just like that. We stand there watching, and I tell Joe, that's it, I quit. Those guys will be coming back for us. I ain't waiting around for them. This was bad, man. This is bad like effing crazy. This is like a man's worst nightmare, and I can't take it. The whistlers will come back for us. We should get out of here. Like you see, we are not for sure. We were for sure outnumbered. We might be able to shoot a couple, but we only have one rifle, and there's more than 6 of them, all over 8 feet tall. 2 maybe over 10 feet. They could surround us like easy, man. We'd be dead ducks before we could reload. I know this. I hear stories, and I shout, let's get. We heard screams going off in the distance, so we knew they were moving away from us, or at least some were moving away. Then it gets quiet, eerie-like. No screams in the distance. I get back in the truck to think what's next. We need to go. We can't stay because the whistlers will come for us. Sure enough, we expect they will come for us. We waited in the locked truck about 10 minutes. We argue over what to do. And then comes the foreman and a few men from the crew who heard the shots, and I tell them, I quit. I can't stay here. I have a family, 4 children. When I go home that day and leaving, I see the blood on the road, a puddle of blood. To my wife, I explain I'll never go back again. The whistlers will be looking for me. It's the code. Wow. Bobby goes on to say, it is clear in his narrative that the Sasquatch reacted physically to being shot. The informant described the pain it felt. The other interesting thing was about the numbers of Sasquatches that were in that grouping. I don't think I've heard of that many being observed before, and not one time, and not of that height either. The informant told me he missed the outcome from the job, but will never go back to cutting timber. And he said that he thought of seeing the whistlers again caused nightmares. The creature's description he gave was typical, except for the lightness of the color and that they were frighteningly tall and bearded. It is rare to get a report where the beard is mentioned. Facing a half a dozen 9-foot-tall beings will get anybody's attention. I did remember to ask him if he knew where the Sasquatch was hit, and he believed a round hit it mid-chest. Wondering what came of the creature, he said there was no way he wanted to find out. Continuing on, he said, quote, "They was twice my size, and I never knew how many there was. 3 to 5 for sure. 2 more bigger ones came out, so then there was 7 of them. And we were outnumbered with 1 rifle. I hear them whistle in my nightmares every time. I hear them whistle in my nightmares, and every time someone whistles, I see them again. I cannot stand to hear the high-pitched scream. There are rumors around that 2 of the men were killed in the months that followed under mysterious circumstances. Like the fellows I worked with didn't get hit by swinging logs. It don't happen. I didn't want to hear the details of it, so I cannot tell you if it was retaliation or not." During the phone interview, I could hear the man's voice falter as he hurriedly ended the phone call. His fear level had not subsided much over the years later. He did say that the rifle Joe used was a 30-06 Savage Model 111 bolt-action standard ammo. It was kept as an insurance, mostly against grizzlies or for hunting purposes. He did not know what happened to his logging friend Joe, and during one of the conversations, the subject of bears came up. The Inupiat claimed to have shot an 8-foot, 900-pound Alaskan brownie one year that was after his hunting dog's pups. The appearance of a brownie ought to terrify any man, but by comparison to the Sasquatch story, he talked calmly about it. I tried contacting him again in 2008, but the phone was disconnected. Wow. There you go. So maybe what I'll do is I'll keep that right there in my face, and maybe each day I'll try to end with a story from Bobby so we can hear from her again, all right? There's a lot of holy shit truths going on around the planet, man. A lot. Anyway, listen closely. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Okay? That's the email that you email your experiences to. If you want them shared, or your knowledge, something you think is very, very important that the people find out, whatever. You got something that's going to help somebody, help me or help you, make sure you email it there, all right? And it will get got too. Now, here I go. Chainsaw time. Believe it or not, I've almost got this whole entire next year's firewood split and stacked. But I still have a whole bunch more to go. The land's too wet, so can't get an excavator in here. My friend's going to come in and fix up the whole property. So I'm getting all the good firewood out of there first. That's what I have to continue on with. One of my 50 projects. And hopefully I'll reward myself in a couple days for something. There you go. I'll be back.